Howdy all, hope you're doing well. You know, it's quite good actually looking at the timer up there and not seeing that I'm limited with time. I've recently done another video where I state something similar. I'm in two minds as to whether I upload it or not. I think I might have overstepped a few marks with other content creators. But it's nothing personal. It's not. It's just, it's what it is. Now this video is, I've been listening to the various channels that I listen to, and there's a couple of them that have said a few things that really resonated and I can really relate to. And I've obviously spoken in the past about my own intuition, being able to just have an inner knowing of someone and their intentions. And where it's been a thing, warned people of such. Like I said, not necessarily the best way of making friends, but I'm also a believer that if you are their friend, or you consider yourself to be their friend, and you're picking up some negative vibes from someone that they're in relationship with in some way, shape or form, whether they're a friend or a partner, and you tell them, yes, it's going to rock the boat. It will absolutely rock the fucking boat. And depending what their temperament is like, they'll rock that thing till the damn wheels fall off. Boats don't have wheels, but never mind. You get the gist, right? Anyway, I was sort of listening away, and this particular lady was saying about someone having the ump because of I think, I mean, we don't know each other, right? We've never met, and again, this is another person that's cross-continent. And they're saying, oh, you know, you're the equivalent of like a high priestess sort of thing, very intuitive, all of that. I wouldn't go as far as, for me at least, I wouldn't say very intuitive. Like I said, sometimes I can read people really well, and other times not so much. And it's not that they're doing anything to hide it, I just don't read it. I don't pick up on the cues, as it were. 237. Anyway, yeah, I'm back onto that. And it's that thing, whereas you tell someone about a situation that it's going to be bad for them, and then they end up getting the ump with you. They end up getting shirty with you because you told them, right? And then and it's that thing, it's like, I want to make something clear. I don't go into these situations and think something up in my head and have some magic woo-woo shit going on. It's like, no, I can genuinely pick up on the vibes of another person. And I've done this before. Use an example of, I think it was back in 2017. One of the lads that I was working with at a place, and he was telling me about his relationship with his missus, and I kept telling him, I said, look, best thing you can do is, next breakup, don't go back, because, I mean, look, you don't need to be intuitive, right? It was one of them relationships where they were constantly breaking up, arguing, getting back together, breaking up, arguing, and it was never over anything important. You know, it was never anything worth breaking up over in the first place. You could argue for a couple of karmics that just love the drama. As for me, I'm done with drama. If I'm in a situation where there's someone that I air quotes feel for, and I don't mean feel for romantically, I mean like I want them to do better for themselves, I will tell them, right? I will tell them that A, I want them to do better, B, they can do better, and C, this is how they can start doing better. At the same time, you kind of got to realise that with some people, they don't want to listen to what other people are saying. You know, they want to just carry on doing the same old thing, hoping things will get better. And in that particular scenario, it wasn't going to get any better. It just wasn't. subsequently, I think I've done a video on this in the past, subsequently on the last breakup, I think it was that they had, actually no it wasn't, because they got back together briefly even after that, where the cops turned up at the workplace and arrested the guy, took him in for questioning, and then released him with no further charges. But it wasn't the girlfriend that had pressed charges, it was her mum. And this is why I say it's very important to pay close attention to the people that are around you, and this includes your friends and family. You know, I've always said this, you know, especially as having this, I suppose, it's not just a biker mentality, but it is part of it, I suppose. In whereas blood doesn't make you related, loyalty does. And again, loyalty has its own boundaries and time service as well. You know, just because someone is loyal to you for the first 1.5 or 2 years that you know them, doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be loyal to you for the rest of the time. They might not always be totally honest with you. But again, this is down to your discernment and you paying attention to what is going on around you, rather than just thinking and assuming that everyone has the best intentions for you. Because realistically, not everyone does. Sometimes people are really jealous, 645, of what you have got or what you have achieved. Or sometimes even for the potential of what you can achieve. And as I've described time and time again, with the theory of the crabs in a bucket, where one's trying to climb out and the others are just trying to drag him back in. It's not a good example, really. I mean, I'm sure they're all trying to get out the bucket, right? And they don't necessarily realise that by pulling the one that's nearly out down, it's stopping the rest of them from getting out. But that's just the analogy of it, right? But these people will pull you down and they will hold you back. Sometimes out of, maybe it's a fear of an abandonment that they have, or sometimes it's just because, why should you do better for yourself? You know, 741. Why should you do better for yourself when they can't put, I'll rephrase that before I say it. Why should you be able to do better for yourself when they can't even be bothered to put the time and effort in themselves to better themselves, for a better life, for a better quality, or in some cases even for a better choice in partner? You know, a lot of the time these are things that people aren't willing to do because it takes effort. You know, and 812, you know, listen attentively to what people are saying when you have conversations with them. You know, listen carefully. And a lot of the time they will reveal, accidentally most of the time, more about themselves in just a passing conversation than what they would if you were to sit there and ask them questions directly about a certain situation or a certain circumstance. 839. That, you know, that they're generally more honest. You know, like, I mean, maybe it's a bit of a cliche example and everything, but it's like, who, I mean, and I've even said this myself, right, and admittedly it was in a case of online gaming, and I'll go whole hog on it actually, and I haven't picked up the console. On a side note, I haven't even switched my console on for about 2 weeks now, because I've been too tired from work and other shit going on. I've been studying and that, so it is what it is. For those of you that know me and watch the channel, it's nothing personal, I just haven't been bothered to switch the fucking thing on. But I've always said, digressing back, I've always said that, you know, the game creators should just give me money because they should, right? And now we're at, you know, they kind of did comply with that one. You know, you get $2,000 every couple of hours just for good behaviour, right? So that's something. It's not a lot given the game and the microtransactions and everything else, but something's better than nothing, right? And they've since upped that, but obviously at the same time you have to pay real-time money in order to get the extra benefits and so on. 10.05. But yeah, and it's like when it comes down to the real world, you know, I'm a grafter, right? I work hard for what I've got. I always have done. And I'm at the stage in life now where, and I have been for many years, whereas I won't work weekends. That might change. We'll see how it goes. And again, it's not necessarily because I need the money. It's more that I want the money, you know. But when you have this conversation with other people, and if you hear them say things like, "Oh well, you know, I'd rather just be given the money," you know, and they have no intention of actually going out and earning a decent, honest. This is a key word there. Honest living, you know. Whether it's putting the time in and resources in order to create their own company or creating their own products that they could then sell online, which a lot of people do these days, you know, and I don't necessarily criticise them for that, but as far as the manosphere is concerned, I will make a bit of fun here and there in terms of like selling soap, you know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But again, it's a niche that a lot of people find within the manosphere. They find MGTOW, they find Red Pill, and they know that they can talk the talk, but they're not necessarily walking the same walk. You know, they're not quacking like a duck and all that, even though they look like one. Well, just saying. Anyway, 11:59. But yeah, it's more to do with listening to what they're saying in terms of that will give away more about their personality, and paying attention to that. And then, you know, in some cases, and this is something that me and a few other people have sort of spoken about on the side, and it's sort of like 12:22, we do feel for these people in a way, because it's like they don't get it. It's like, you know, even for me, I was a bit of a late starter, as it were, right? Went to college the first time, flunked it for several different reasons. First of all, the lecturers stopped turning up, and then we stopped turning up, and then, yeah, that was the end of that. But this is just it. Got given a second chance about 5 or 6 years later, and I got to go back to college and study again for something that I, questionable now, thought I wanted to do, you know, 13:05. And so I retrained and I put in the effort and I dedicated myself to that trade. I put in the time and the effort. And, you know, it wasn't easy. It was blood, sweat and tears. It was effort. It meant sleepless nights. It meant worry. It meant anxiety. It meant times of depression. Times of wondering if it was even worth it. Times I was ready to give up because there were certain things I just could not get my head around. 13:34. You know. But I still carried on with that will and determination of at least finishing the course, even if I didn't want to do that at the end of it. You know, I thought, well, you know, it's causing me all this headache, drama and problems. It's like, am I sure I want to do this? But this is just it. The majority of people these days, and I can't even say it's a generational thing. I can't even say it's like, oh, anyone beyond Gen X, because I know enough Gen Xers that are lazy as they can't be bothered. You know, they just, I mean, you know about the term winging it. Well, it's like there's winging it and then there's winging it, and it's like, as a result, they end up playing the system, which I think is a bit wrong as well. But it is something that happens, and it's not totally out of control, but you know, it's a thing. It's a thing. But this is just it. And you're wondering, well, how does all that relate to what I was saying earlier about, you know, listening to people and intuition and telling people how things are? And it's like, well, in one particular instance, I'll talk about relationships ever so briefly in terms of choices that we've made and everything, you know, in the past. And some people, I think, despite being in their sometimes even like early 30s, mid 30s, and they're not understanding, they're not comprehending this thing of finding a partner that is equal. Now, by equal, I mean in every sense of the word. They equally put in the same amount of effort. They equally, you know, do the same, not necessarily the same job, don't even necessarily earn the same kind of money, but at least if they're doing it, at least if they are going out and earning the money, and they are putting the effort into the relationship, you know, and I mean actually putting effort into the relationship, none of this half-hearted shit that a lot of people seem to be just offering out. It's just like breadcrumbing. You know, there's so many people that are falling prey to breadcrumbing, and they just accept it as is, and meanwhile they're working their arse off, you know, and trying to live as best a life they can, admittedly mostly to provide for themselves, because they might not be in a situation where they're living with someone. But when you are living with someone, and it's like, I couldn't, look, the only time I could excuse that it might sound bad, but it is what it is. The only time I could excuse that is if I was with a partner and they were pregnant or they'd just given birth, and you know, and again, it's like I'd rather they'd stay at home and look after the kid. Simple as that, you know, because as far as I'm concerned, it's not an employment job. At that point, it's a goddamn duty and responsibility job. You know, it's not even a job. It's a labour of love. You know, and it's not. I think so much gets lost in our society now. I think I might have to upload the other video just to make this one make a bit more sense. Actually, I'll upload that one first thing, then this one, then I'll put a link in the description for this video in the first video, and then you can come and watch this and then see me do this bit. 1725. just anyway, but this is just it. It's down to that thing of, it's like it's a labour of love, you know, bringing up having a child with someone and bringing up a child with someone, you know. And I think I think maybe it is a narcissistic mentality that a lot of women seem to have out there, you know, whereas I'm not even going to go into it. I'm not even, you know. But it's like, that would be the only time I could excuse a partner from not working and being in a relationship with me, and not, it's not that they're not able, and I wouldn't expect them to, but that's just it. It's different. When that happens, it's different. The situation, the dynamic changes. You know, at that point, you know, call it patriarchy all you damn want, I don't care, 1829. It's not about patriarchy. It's about the man being, the air quotes, stronger one and able to work the hours, which, as we know, more often than not, well, you don't spend enough time with me, and it's like, well, I'm putting in the hours to keep a roof over our heads and feed you and the kid and everything else. It's like, this is a choice. And a lot of women don't see that. They don't see that side of it, which is what makes relationships harder to be a thing these days for a lot of guys, whereas they realise that if they are working longer hours because they're trying to keep roof over the head and food on the table for their family, you know, and then it's not necessarily the wondering if, like, the other half is going to go and see if the grass is green on the other side, because that sort of behaviour is encouraged mostly these days. You know, it's like responsibility and accountability just goes right out the window on that one sometimes with some people. And again, it is, you know, digressing back, 1949, it's like a lot of people are just dealing with relationships where they're being breadcrumbed. You know, you put in your all and they're giving you nothing in return. It's like, seriously, you call that a relationship? No, I call that a relationship. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. So 20:07 on the clock. Thanks for listening. Thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to jot them down as always. Till the next one, stay cool, stay free, 2014, and peace out.